Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe this is just positive Tommy, 24 hours after the Knicks win a championship. But I think Jalen Brunson is the best player in the NBA.
People say he's too small. People say he's a 1B or a 2B or whatever. He is a freaking 1A. He is an MVP candidate.
Today, Jalen Brunson's every bit a superstar as Joker is, as Luka is, as SGA is, as Wemby is, as Giannis is, as KD is. He's just not flashy about it. There's nobody in the league, including those three guys on the mountain next to him, that you want with the ball in their hands to make a big shot down by 10 seconds to go. He's got the nickname Captain Clutch for a reason. Jalen Brunson right now is the GOAT of the NBA.
That's why I named him Big Body Brunson. Everyone was saying the winner out of OKC and the Spurs going to win the championship.
Fact.
And Jalen Brunson said, I'm right here. He always proved people wrong. Jalen Brunson is the top 5 player in the NBA.
The NBA world thought it already knew who the best player on the planet was. The usual names dominated every debate, every headline, and every MVP conversation. Then, something unexpected started happening. Former players, current stars, and even basketball legends began quietly saying the same name, Jalen Brunson. Not Luka, not Jokic, not Giannis, Brunson. So what did they see that everyone else missed? And is there a shocking reason some NBA insiders now believe the real MVP was never officially crowned? Stay tuned, because the answers might completely change how you see basketball.
Brunson is a champion.
Where does he rank for best
tough.
players under 6 feet?
I've been saying this.
1.
He better than Isaiah Thomas?
Yeah, he has a ring on Wemby.
I ain't gonna lie, because he did it in Knicks jersey.
Look at this game, though. Look at this
impressive,
game.
Bro.
Brunson is a top 3 player in the league right now.
Top 3?
He's ahead of SGA and Luka. He's the best point guard right now in the league. He's the best point guard, right?
That boy good.
So that means if you got Shea in the top 5.
You gotta say he played better than Shea against San Antonio.
In New York, Brunson is bigger than Jordan to some people. He has his own city now. Like, it's only a couple people. LeBron in Cleveland, Jordan, Kobe, Steph, Brunson. Brunson did something kids dream of, like the win in college, the win in the NBA with your homies and your dad on the coach.
Everybody loves a basketball fairy tale, but Jalen Brunson's story is different because it is not really a fairy tale at all. Fairy tales usually begin with a chosen one. They begin with a future superstar, a teenage phenom, a player so hyped that scouts start comparing him to legends before he even graduates high school. Jalen Brunson was never that guy.
The shot-making ability that he had in that fourth quarter was, it's the reason why they're in the finals.
Yeah.
He's the head of the snake for their team, and his shot-making ability, tough shots, made the left hand layup over top of Castle, long arm, floater off the top, split the defense on the next one, was able to get to the hole.
King of the castle, on the mountain, the greatest player alive today.
Why are you doing this?
Is Jalen Arthur Aloysius Brunson.
Why are you doing this?
Jalen Brunson completely outplayed SGA against the Spurs. If you look at the numbers, completely and utterly made him look silly.
This is what we thought AI was.
He was not the first pick in the draft. He was not the player analysts spent years calling the next face of basketball. He was not the athlete featured in every commercial or celebrated as the future of the league before he played a single NBA minute.
Where do you put Brunson now as an all-timer? Because this guy never gets to win the championship. This player with this story is not allowed to be the number one player on a team and get past Wemby. It's just not something that happens in the history of the sport. If you're that size, you do not win at the end. Look, 45 points in a game, closeout game, when your team scores 94 is lunacy. That's Michael Jordan stuff.
Because one thing Jalen Brunson showed and proved is that the mid-range jump shot is still a great weapon.
Great take.
What was he? Now, he can hit threes too, and he hit some big ones. But inside the arc, it felt like he was automatic.
Yeah.
Even
Floaters
shooting over
too.
Wemby. Yeah.
For years, he was simply known as Luka Doncic's teammate. That label followed him everywhere. What makes Jalen Brunson's rise even more remarkable is that many of the people praising him today are the same individuals who have spent years competing against the greatest basketball players on the planet.
Jalen Brunson has never seen a defense like the Spurs are going to throw at him. I watched that young man go out there, basically give the San Antonio Spurs death by 1,000 paper cuts.
I want to give you 2 stats. 1, leaders in fourth quarter playoff points total. So this means you would expect it to be people whoever gets deepest in the playoffs, that best player should probably have the most fourth quarter playoffs.
I just think Brunson should never pay for nothing else in New York again for the rest of his life. And he needs a statue.
So does that mean he's a top 5 Knick, top 2, top 3?
Yeah, he definitely get a statue.
Yeah. He's definitely top 3 greatest Knicks ever.
And you gotta look at Brunson is so underappreciated because of his size, KP. You don't get them guards like that no more. They just don't.
These are not casual fans reacting to highlights on social media or analysts searching for a fresh storyline. These are NBA stars, champions, and future Hall of Famers who understand exactly how difficult it is to dominate at the highest level of professional basketball. When players speak about Brunson, there is a noticeable pattern in their comments because they all seem fascinated by the same thing. They are amazed by his ability to consistently outperform opponents, despite lacking many of the physical advantages that modern superstars are expected to possess. Front offices dream about finding players who combine length, speed, strength, and versatility into one complete package. The league has become increasingly obsessed with athletic traits that can be measured, tested, and compared. Then Jalen Brunson enters the conversation and challenges almost every assumption. He does not fit the traditional image of a basketball superstar. He is not the tallest guard in the league, nor is he the fastest player on the court. He does not possess the breathtaking explosiveness that fills social media feeds with highlight dunks.
Would you rather have Brunson right now or Shea?
Ooh.
Brunson or Shea? Now, Shea is bigger.
Okay,
he's a better
I know my
defender.
answer.
But he's a better defender.
I know my answer.
They're both extremely clutch.
I know my answer.
This is not like a. It's not a would you rather have. This is.
He's making it a would you rather have.
saying,
Yeah.
It's not a would you rather have, but he is making it a would you rather have.
How about this?
Okay.
Take who you want.
Brunson.
Okay, I'll take the other.
Instead, he relies on timing, balance, footwork, patience, and an elite understanding of the game. Yet, despite appearing physically outmatched against many opponents, he continues finding ways to outperform players blessed with every measurable advantage imaginable. That reality has forced many basketball minds to reconsider what greatness actually looks like. Players who compete against Brunson regularly describe him as one of the smartest and most technically skilled guards in the game. Cade Cunningham once explained that Brunson possesses a unique understanding of every aspect of basketball. The average fan often becomes captivated by spectacular athletic displays, impossible three-pointers, and highlight reel dunks. NBA players, however, tend to notice entirely different details. They pay attention to footwork, positioning, body control, patience, and decision-making. They understand how difficult it is to create separation without elite speed. They appreciate how much skill it takes to control the tempo of a game against the best athletes in the world. They recognize the subtle details that separate truly great players from merely talented ones. Brunson excels in all of those areas.
Face of the league. Now, the gatekeepers in the national media, they don't want Jalen Brunson to be the face of the league. They don't want him to be the best player in the sport. And they certainly don't want the Knicks on the top of the NBA mountain. But that's exactly where they are. And I look at Jalen Brunson, not only his performance in Game 5, which was stuff of legend, not only being Michael Jordan in the fourth quarter, being the most clutch player in the NBA. Yeah, he's had that title for a minute.
Secondly, he's obviously a great role model, and I'm off the court as well, but I mean as a basketball player, because and look, I said the same thing about Steph and even James Harden in his heyday. He is proof, Brunson, that it is not all about, obviously size, but quickness, jumping ability, the 45-inch vertical. Yeah.
Watching him operate can be incredibly frustrating for opposing teams because everyone knows exactly what he wants to accomplish yet very few defenders can prevent him from doing it. His game resembles a magician revealing the secret behind a trick and somehow still leaving the audience confused about how it worked. Defenders understand his tendencies, study his film, and prepare extensively for his moves. But once the game begins, those preparations often prove insufficient. A typical possession might begin with Brunson calmly dribbling near the top of the key while the defense appears completely comfortable. Nothing about the moment seems particularly threatening. Then, almost without warning, then it happens again. By the end of the night, Brunson has quietly accumulated nearly 30 points, and opposing fans are left wondering how the damage happened so quickly. His former teammate Quentin Grimes once described this phenomenon perfectly. According to Grimes, Brunson has a unique ability to appear relatively quiet throughout a game, only for everyone to glance at the scoreboard and realize he has already assembled another dominant offensive performance. It is one of the most unusual qualities in basketball because his production often feels invisible until the final numbers appear.
I think he has to be one of the top 50 players of all time, though. He did something that a bunch of great guards were never able to do. He did something that James Harden, as a starter on his own team, never even made the finals and fell short over and over again. Steve Nash, who was an unbelievable player, 2-time MVP, through no fault of his own, could never quite get the team there. Chris Paul finally did it in the 2021 finals late in his career, but they lost. Jason Kidd, 2 straight finals, but he lost, and then finally gets one later as a role player starter in Dallas. What Brunson did was up there with Dwayne Wade in 2006. It was up there with Walton in 77. You can go on through, but we're just dragging a team to the finals. And he is somebody that I never in a million years would have thought would make the pyramid. He was the guy over and over again who could create the best.
That ability to score efficiently without constantly dominating headlines has become one of Brunson's defining characteristics. However, statistics alone do not explain why so many NBA players have become vocal supporters of his greatness. The deeper reason lies in something every professional athlete values above almost everything else: respect. Players respect work ethic because they understand the sacrifices required to reach the highest level. Players respect preparation because they know success rarely happens by accident. Players respect individuals who maximize every ounce of talent available to them because they understand how difficult that process truly is. Brunson embodies all of those qualities. Brunson had to earn everything. He fought for minutes, proved himself repeatedly, and gradually convinced coaches and executives that he deserved greater responsibilities. Every accomplishment was built through consistency rather than hype. That process developed a level of resilience that now becomes visible whenever pressure increases. Pressure has a remarkable way of exposing weaknesses. The brightest stages in sports often reveal flaws that remain hidden during ordinary situations. Some players become uncomfortable when expectations rise. Others struggle when every possession carries greater importance.
I actually prefer to defend him more in ISO than a pick and roll. He's so crafty, man. You start adding a screen, a pick and roll with Jalen Brunson, and he's coming downhill, and he's got all the pivots and side steps and drawing fouls, and he uses his body great. He finishes well. Jalen Brunson is a 3-level scorer. He can finish at the rim. He can finish in the mid-range. He got a floater. He got a 3. He got a pull-up. Like, he score at all levels. And so, me personally, I'd rather guard him one-on-one than guarding him in a pick and roll.
You talk about Jalen Brunson and what he just accomplished. He cemented himself as the greatest Knick ever. Jalen Brunson just cemented himself as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Jalen Brunson just cemented himself as one of the greatest winners in.
For Brunson, the opposite seems to occur. The bigger the stage becomes, the more comfortable he appears. The greater the pressure, the more composed he looks. That quality became impossible to ignore during the playoffs, where reputations are created, challenged, and permanently defined. Postseason basketball operates under a completely different level of intensity. Every possession becomes more physical. Every mistake becomes more costly. Every weakness becomes a target for opponents determined to exploit it. Defenses become more focused, scouting reports become more detailed, and every player is forced to prove that their regular season success can survive under playoff conditions. Yet Brunson continued producing at an elite level. Players around the league noticed immediately. Derek White described him as a big-time player who consistently delivers when his team needs him most. Coming from one of the league's most respected competitors, that praise carries significant weight because players understand exactly how difficult it is to elevate their performance when the pressure reaches its highest level. The playoffs revealed something many players already suspected. Jalen Brunson was no longer simply a very good guard. He had evolved into a franchise cornerstone capable of carrying enormous expectations.
This second-round pick that went to Dallas, that came here, even though I knew he could play, I didn't know he was going to be. I didn't know if he was going to be an NBA player coming out of Villanova. And when he got to the league, I said, all right, the brother can play. But I didn't know he was. Listen, I wanted Kevin Durant, Kyrie, remember? And then we got Jalen Brunson. I'm like, ugh. You know, he could play, but he ain't KD. And I'm looking at all of this, and I've watched it unfold, where this man has come to New York and has been nothing short of a superstar.
Jalen Brunson is the greatest New York Knicks player of all time. You guys can say whatever you want. He's the greatest New York Knicks player ever. Ever!
Perhaps the most fascinating reaction came from Paul George. George openly admitted that although he always believed Brunson was talented, even he did not anticipate this level of success. He remembered seeing flashes during Brunson's years in Dallas, particularly when Luka Doncic missed games and Brunson was forced into a larger role. Those moments hinted at a higher ceiling, but there is a significant difference between showing occasional flashes and sustaining excellence over multiple seasons. Many players experience brief stretches of brilliance. Very few transform those moments into a permanent identity. Brunson managed to accomplish exactly that. When he arrived in New York, he entered one of the most demanding environments in professional sports. Knicks fans are passionate, loyal, embrace the challenge while others struggled beneath the enormous expectations. Brunson immediately looked comfortable. His confidence spread throughout the locker room. His leadership elevated teammates. His consistency provided stability. Before long, the Knicks were no longer searching for an identity because they had found one standing at point guard.
You know, I thought Jalen Brunson really taking the series over in key spots in games 3, 4, and 5. It was symbolic of his career. He just wears well over time.
The signing of Jalen Brunson to the Knicks for a contract of 4 years, $104 million that at the time was deemed by plenty of people to be either a solid signing or an overpay. For him to become the player.
Nobody thought it was an underpay.
Nobody thought it was an underpay. And for him to become the player that put this franchise on his back.
Come on.
Scored 45 out of 94 points in this game. Carried this franchise that had so many down moments and so many years of futility and had this whole legion of fans that never thought they were going to win all the way through these playoffs, beating Victor Wembanyama in this series.
What makes the story even more remarkable is how frequently people continue underestimating him despite overwhelming evidence. Every season seems to begin with a fresh group of skeptics questioning whether he can maintain his level of play. Every season seems to end with those same skeptics searching for explanations after he exceeds expectations once again. At some point, the conversation must change. When a player consistently surpasses expectations year after year, perhaps the expectations were flawed from the very beginning. Luka Doncic understood this reality long ago. When asked whether he expected Brunson to become this successful, Luka's answer was straightforward. He had already seen it coming. That perspective highlights an important truth about greatness. Breakthroughs rarely happen overnight. To the public, success often appears sudden. Behind the scenes, however, success is usually the result of years of improvement, discipline, sacrifice, and persistence. Brunson's rise follows that pattern perfectly because every offseason added another dimension to his game. Every challenge strengthened his confidence, and every obstacle reinforced his determination.
Where would be disrespectful?
Why do you think Brunson is giving you guys so much trouble this year? Obviously, he's having a good season, but he's had a couple of big games against y'all. Yeah.
I mean, first of all, he's one of the best players in the league. You know, he's a scorer, and you know, as somebody who's been in a situation where I've had the ball in my hands 95% of the time, 90% of the time. Certain matchups that I can just think of that I've had over the years where I knew the type of coverage they were going to be in, and you know we play a drop coverage, And, you know, he's getting those screens set. He's coming downhill. He plays in the mid-range with floaters and pull-up jumpers.
Over time, those improvements accumulated into something impossible to ignore. Today, conversations surrounding Brunson frequently lead to one fascinating question. Is he actually the most valuable player in basketball? Regardless of where people stand on that debate, the fact that the question is being asked demonstrates how far he has come. The NBA is filled with extraordinary talent, yet Brunson has forced himself into conversations that once seemed unimaginable. The basketball world spent years searching for the next superstar while overlooking one who was quietly developing in plain sight. Today, that oversight has become impossible to ignore because NBA players see it, former champions see it, legends see it, and fans inside Madison Square Garden certainly see it. Jalen Brunson may never fit the traditional image of a basketball superhero, but perhaps that is exactly what makes his story so compelling. He built his reputation through discipline rather than hype, earned respect through consistency rather than publicity, and transformed doubt into motivation at every stage of his career. Whether you believe he is the best player in the world or simply one of the game's elite superstars, one reality has become undeniable. Jalen Brunson is no longer the overlooked second-round pick waiting for recognition. He has become one of the defining players of his era, and judging by what current stars and basketball legends continue saying about him, his story is still far from finished.
And so I'm noticing since the Knicks brought the championship home, now they trying to say that they don't know who the best player in the NBA is. Well, let me tell you who the best player in the NBA is. It's Big Body Brunson. After what he did, 45 points, damn near half of his team points, he did some shit only Jordan and the greats, the Kobe's, the Jordans, and the Dwayne Wades did in the finals. Big Body Brunson is the best player in the NBA. And the only reason why they don't have him as the best player in the NBA, and he's not in that conversation, is because they discriminating on his height. That's right. If he was 6'7", he would be listed as the best player in the NBA. But because he's 6'1", and they on some height stereotype shit, that's why they don't have him as the best player in the NBA.
For years, the conversation surrounding superstar talent revolved around physical gifts. Analysts debated wingspans, vertical leaps, speed, and size as if greatness could be predicted entirely through measurements. While those traits certainly matter, Brunson has become living proof that basketball intelligence remains one of the most valuable skills in the sport. When opponents describe the challenge of guarding him, they rarely begin by talking about athleticism. Instead, they discuss timing, decision-making, and his ability to anticipate defensive reactions before they happen. Brunson seems to know exactly where help defenders are positioned. Perhaps that is why veteran players speak about him with such admiration. They understand how difficult it is to consistently make the correct decision while operating under intense pressure. They know that while athletic advantages can diminish over time, basketball intelligence often becomes even more valuable as experience grows. Brunson has managed to combine both experience and skill into a package that seems perfectly designed for winning basketball. His impact on the Knicks extends far beyond points and assists. Every great team eventually develops a personality, and in many ways, Brunson has become the personality of New York basketball.
It's always been Jalen Brunson's good, but Jalen's good, but this and this and this, and
when
when
they said but, what was the but about?
Too slow, not athletic enough, too small, all those things that that don't measure.
I'm a person who gladly. Jalen Brunson cemented himself as a top 5 player in this league. Jalen Brunson just cemented himself as one of the greatest offensive players that this game has ever seen. When you talk about coming up clutch, put him up there with the all-time greats, averaging over 11 points in the fourth quarter, averaging a little over 32 points in the NBA Finals.
What do you feel like Jalen in particular, just playing with him?
Unreal. He is easily the most skillful player I've ever played with.
The toughness, resilience, and refusal to back down that fans associate with the franchise are reflected in the way he approaches every game. Whether the Knicks are leading comfortably or facing adversity, his demeanor rarely changes. That calm confidence has become contagious throughout the roster. Teammates frequently feed off his energy because they know what they are getting every night. They know he will compete. They know he will prepare. They know he will embrace responsibility when the game is on the line. The people who understand basketball at the highest level continue pointing toward Brunson as one of the most complete competitors in the game. That may ultimately be the strongest endorsement of all. Championships, awards, and accolades are important, but the respect of fellow players is often the clearest measure of greatness. When stars, champions, and legends repeatedly praise the same player, it usually means they recognize something special. In Jalen Brunson's case, that something special is no longer a secret. It is visible every night he steps onto the court, and it is the reason why an overlooked second-round pick has transformed himself into one of the most respected players in the entire basketball world.